Claude, I'm psyched that you're here. I'm psyched that we're in Manhattan. We found a great spot.
We did. I mean, there's some choppers overhead.
There were some choppers,
and some
ambulances.
birds.
Yes, we dodged. By the way, I don't know if anybody saw this. We dodged the dog that was behind you going to the bathroom. I don't think it made it on camera. But no, we've got a great spot. Maybe introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hey, I'm Claude Silver. I'm the Chief Heart Officer at VaynerX. I just wrote a book called Be Yourself at Work. It came out last October 25. Pick it up, read it. Easy tips that will boost your self-confidence and make you a better team player.
We were just talking about this a moment ago, but off the bat.
Yeah, we're going.
Let's talk about kids.
Okay.
You have 2 girls. I have 2 girls. They're the most special people in my life. We talk a lot about building a career, having impact. We're in a really sort of unique environment. Everything is changing. How do you think about, for your 2 kids and everybody's kids, how do you feel about creating an environment where they can do the best work as they get older?
Well, I think the most important thing that I can possibly do for these 2 wonderful kids and anyone else's kids is teach them the importance of self-awareness, teach them the importance of kindness, and teach them confidence. That, I think, is what I would say is table stakes. And I think with those 3 traits, if you will, I believe that they would be able to make their way into any boardroom today.
Yep.
Plus, we decided to give them very strong names. So we've got my 7.5-year-old's name is Shalom.
Okay.
Strong name, right?
Yep.
Peace. And then my 5-year-old is Edison, not Addison, Edison. And we call her Eddie. And those are both just like names. People are like, oh yeah, those are really unique names. And they're strong. And we wanted them to feel like they could be the president of the world.
I love that.
We really, really did. So when I think about setting up the culture of today, tomorrow, and the next day, there's nothing that changes for me. It's all about belonging. It's all about safety. It's all about inclusivity. It's all about enjoying what you do, thriving, not surviving. And for some reason, Peter, we have this work-life balance where it's life and work is a part of life, but we don't say that. We don't say it's life and then work's a part of life. Sure. We say it's work-life. And that, I think, if there's one thing we can, rejigger in these next 20 years while our kids are growing up.
Invert that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you bring up something that's interesting, which is that on some level, there are certain people in the world that have the luxury of having sort of life-work balance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't have that luxury, or they don't work in an environment where that's accepted, whether they buy into that mantra or not. And that's hard for those people. So how do you, if you're one of those people that doesn't have that opportunity or maybe doesn't know how to show up at work in a place that's going to welcome that, that can't say, hey, I'm out of here, I'm going to go find something. How do you do that? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the number one question right now is you have to prioritize putting food on your table.
Yeah.
So that's what you're going to have to do. And unfortunately, you have to let certain things go. However, I don't think that means you have to let certain things go emotionally. It's not like you go into, if God forbid I had to do that and I had to work on an oil rig for 3 months at a time and I couldn't see my kids because I needed food on the table, I would definitely make sure that they're still with me emotionally so that I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing this for. So that is I understand that's a very privileged thing to say also.
Sure.
Because I can say that, but there is such a thing as synergy. And I think each and every person can figure out what that synergy is for themselves subjectively. I don't think it's balance.
Okay.
I really don't. I think these are jigsaw pieces that we're all trying to put together, whether or not we have the luxury of leaving and going to our kid's softball game, or whether or not we have to stay at work and grind until 10 p.m. We all have agency, and we need to figure out what that is so that we can call the shots that make most sense for us and our family.
I agree. I think it's super hard, right?
Yeah.
And I think we all get caught up sometimes in the moment of whether it's pressure of work, pressure of home, and not being able to, for me personally, not being able to compartmentalize one or the other. And you have this sort of you bring your work home with you.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I think that's unavoidable, right? Depending on the type of profession you're in. In others, maybe it's not unavoidable, but it starts to impact the relationship that you have in your home life.
Yeah.
Whether that's, again, if you're lucky enough to have dinner as a team, the dinner table, team as in your family, the dinner table or bedtime or whatever, when you're if if only I had said this thing, or if only I had done this thing, or if I got to send this thing, right? Is there a way to, again, it gets into the deeper like psychoanalytical piece, like, can you turn that part off?
So we all have the ability to compartmentalize for better or for worse.
Yeah.
I definitely think that. I think there's a time and a place. And sometimes I even say to myself, I compartmentalize really, really well. Is that okay? Why you lie?
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I learned that, you learn compartmentalization usually through hard knocks.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's great that I have it. I'm so happy I have it. I wouldn't erase anything in my past that gave it to me. And I do sometimes question if that's okay. However, let's take this for both of us that have kids. When my kids see me on the phone, they get really pissed off.
Why?
Because I'm taking time away from them. I'm not Instagram scrolling.
Yeah.
Like I was writing an email this morning, right? And it took maybe 30 seconds to a minute. But that really interrupted what I was doing with my 7-year-old. And she was really she was upset about that.
Do you try to force yourself to be present? Of
course. Yeah. Well, because you and I are both in this working world where email's not stopping. And so when I wake up, there's already emails that need to be answered. And some of them I feel like need to be answered now, not at 9 or 8:30.
You have a really interesting story.
Yeah.
And you've landed at your story is interesting, and now what you're doing is super interesting. You've sort of my understanding is you've crafted this chief heart officer role in a way that is not, I don't know any other chief heart officers. But I'd love to understand, how did you get there? You spent some time living in Santa Fe, which is unique.
Yeah.
You're from Manhattan.
Yep.
You came back to Manhattan. You were at Vayner. I think you were an account manager, right? Or account strategist.
I was a strategist for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a strategist. You have this book, by the way, which is super fascinating. And it talks a little bit about that story.
Yeah.
And you going to Gary and saying, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. And you guys working on this role together. So maybe take me through that.
Yeah. I'll go back a little bit in time. So I've always been one of those cheerleaders without pom-poms.
Okay.
I've been a player coach cheerleader. And I've always had this innate belief in people. It took me a longer time to have a belief in myself, which is
hard.
Yeah, hard, but also it happens. And so I've always been rooting. I've always rooted for people, whether or not it was the underdog or whomever, right? And so that took me through high school, where I sucked academically, but I was a great tennis coach and tennis captain and tennis player.
Okay.
I was a great soccer captain and soccer player. Always cheerleading. And so I thought I wanted to be a psychotherapist because I'm interested in human behavior, and I'm interested in the ways in which we work. I had to get myself right first, which was super important. And then when I got into this working world, it was the internet.com, the first one, in 97, 98, I was a part of that in San Francisco. And so all there was this wild, wild west of digital. And so anything you did during those startup days was anything you did was good for the goose, was good for the gander. Yep. You take out the trash, you make the coffee, you do that, you do that. And so I became much like a Swiss Army knife. Anyway, and a lot of us did, generalists. And then after we got laid off, most people got laid off after 9/11, I started an outdoor adventure surfing company. Co-founded.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay.
And so, because I knew a lot about the outdoors and surfing and Outward Bound and all that stuff. And so we did that for 5 years. We had, great partnerships with Billabong and this and that. So cool. I was pushing people into the water about 280 days a year. I had that killer tan from the neck up, wrist down, because it's cold water.
Yeah.
And then, again, cheering people on.
Yeah.
I believe in you. Optimism goes such a long way. And optimism really is this: I believe in you. Empathy is I see you.
Yep.
Optimism is I believe in you. And that's something I've always had inside me. Anyway, we sold the company. I went back into what I knew, and it just so happened advertising agencies were on the rise. I didn't know what the heck an advertising agency was or what it took to get an ad made. But I went in, and I think because of leadership skills that are just innate, I immediately was an account director, or director of a project management team, or this and that and this. And one thing just led to the other, and I ended up being the head of strategy. I got a phone call from London, from the company I was working for in London, and this posh guy, CEO, says, I hear we need someone with your skill sets. Now, little Claude would have said, like, what skill sets are those? But Claude, me, said, sure, when do you need me? How soon do you need me? It's like 2 weeks. I was like, okay. I have put everything in storage, and I said yes to this experience, which was being kind of like one of one at a very big, prominent agency in London, global agency. And again, leading teams, informally mentoring people, all of that stuff, just like cheering people on, right? And in August of 2013, my best friend introduced me to Gary.
Okay.
She was working at Unilever, which is across the river.
Okay.
And he had come and spoken. And she's like, I think you guys are two sides of the same coin. And I was like, well, I'd been following Gary for a while.
Sure.
I was like, two sides of that coin? Like, I'm not loud like that. Anyway, we met and met on a phone call. It was great. I came to New York in September of 2013. And here I come, like, I'm a professional. And I come with, like, a laptop of, like, here's
your dossier.
Cool, I can do for you. And he just, like, shuts the laptop. He was like, let's just talk.
Yeah.
And in that conversation, just like this, we were just having like casual conversation about kids and family and beliefs. And then he offered me the job, but the job wasn't in London. It was here in New York. So now I'm getting to kind of like present day, 12 years ago, when basically I'm running the Unilever account. I'm the first SVP that he hires. So that means I'm one of the oldest people. I'm definitely the person with the most agency experience and lived experience.
Yep.
And so those natural startup tendencies kicked in again.
Yep.
Mentorship, coffee, how do you interview people? How do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do
You're wearing
this?
all the hats.
All of it, all of it, all of it. And I realized while I was running this big team, which was 60 people, and I was like, we were like a liberal arts college.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't like, don't show and tell. I don't want to see the campaigns.
Yeah.
Let's talk about poetry.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Love
about it. And then I just said to him, I was like, I don't want to do advertising anymore. By that time, he had seen the proof was in the pudding. I think enough people were coming up to him and being like, Claude really helped me with this or that or that. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I said, I said, I believe in the people here. I only want to be a part of the heartbeat. Heart. And so a lot of things happened. 9 months later, I actually resigned. Yeah. And then we had breakfast. He's like, that's it. You're coming back and we did the chief heart officer. So long-winded way of saying that's how I got here. And I think it's all because of my belief in people.
I love that.
Yeah.
How do you put people first? Or what is maybe the difference between like a traditional chief people officer versus a chief heart officer?
Yeah. Definitely more emotive.
Yeah,
it definitely focuses on what's important, which is the human beings, each individual human being, and then at scale. Okay. If Gary was sitting right here, right now, he'd say, oh, Peter, Claude's the emotional framework for this company, which is a big responsibility. Yeah. And a lot of trust he puts in me to make sure that we're being guided with our values and guided with what people first really mean. So here's people first in practice. And I'll just go with like my day today, which was a myriad of conversations. Conversations on new hires that are doing great and they love it here and it's still vacation land and honeymoon. This one guy was like, hey, it's my year anniversary. I want to tell you how my experience has been. Not good. Yep. And when he was telling me about his experience, I could have been all company, which I'm not. I could have been like, well, that's just how it is. It sounds like you got put on a performance plan because you weren't living up to par. So instead of that, I was like, well, tell me what was happening during those months when you started to tank. He started to tell me real human things. Like his wife left him. No one else was on the team. And I finally said to him, do you have any friends on this team? Like, do you have any friends? Do you have any support? And he's like, no, I don't. And he started to cry. And I was like, that is the problem. Like, that's the problem. Not that that would save his job, but he has no one to be like, hey, I'm underwater, man.
That's the chief heart officer.
Yeah, that's like, so what did I do is I immediately reached out to what we call PET team that I created, but I reached out to the people that touch him on a daily basis. And I was like, I need to talk to you about Mike. It's not his name. I need to talk to you about Mike. And so we talked about 1:30 and I was like, hey, I don't need to know why he's on the performance plan. I saw all that stuff, but I need you to know that A, he's a flight risk. B, he's severely burnt out. And I think we should look at both of those things. If we want to keep this guy here, he's already out the door. So we need to hustle really quickly. If you are saying he's not up to snuff, that's fine, but I need you to know that he's hurting.
Yep.
And so we need to really, on his way out, we need to really cover him.
That's impressive. I don't know how many organizations are going to do that, especially in today's day and age. You and I work in sort of tech or tech adjacent. Everything is metrics driven.
Yeah.
So kudos to you, right? Whether Mike sticks around and gets the help that he needs to thrive,
to flourish, great,
or not, at least he's treated more like a human being.
He needs to be treated.
Right.
All I care about is that he leaves this company feeling like we did something right for him.
100%.
We didn't completely destroy a year of his life,
Absolutely.
which it felt like today. And this is a guy that's like coming from working with LeBron's agency. So it's not like he's a chump.
Yes.
He knows what he's doing. So conversations like that, or conversations like, why are we deciding to relocate this person when, so forth and so on, all kinds of stuff. Big strategy, like, are we going to close that European office? Are we going to keep it open? Are we going to go to the Middle East?
Yeah. You have this unique persona, and perhaps Vayner's sort of like, broadly speaking, this sort of, I'd like to think it's not totally unique or novel concept in the way that you operate.
Yeah.
But in a world where organizations live and die by the metrics, and, it's sort of like slow to hire, quick to fire, how do you square that as an employee, right? How do you square that as an employee, one, in organizations that you want to work at, and two, as either a people leader or somebody that's in a leadership position that has the ability to maybe not do that? Like you do some consulting, you talk with other folks in HR, other chief people officers. How do you get that across?
Well, I don't even go to the HR, I go to the leadership. Because HR in so many different organizations is still poo-poo. They don't have a seat at the table. So I'm not gonna go. I want them to have a seat at the table, and I'm out there on my soapbox saying why they should have a seat at the table. But we also have to remember, God, this is so deep, but I think there's a swath of people in HR that are just fried from being in the no world, from being in no culture. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. So I go to the leaders. I go to the CFOs, the CEOs, the founders, COOs, and I'm like, listen, people aren't your biggest asset. People are your company. And so, I see it a little bit differently, and you're right, metrics and data and results.
Sure.
And in order to have results, you have to have accountability. In order to have accountability, someone needs to have self-awareness. These two things, I think, work in concert with one another. I don't know how a person can have accountability and oversee a team or know that the result they need to produce X, Y, and Z if they are just, have blinders on and work as robots and are not feeling the team around them. I don't think that's going to be possible with Gen Alpha, and I don't think that's possible with Gen Z. And I don't live in utopia. Like I get it.
Yeah.
But we all know, you and I are reading the same stuff. Like, AI is here. That's great. Fantastic. But the human skills are needed more than ever. Because people are scared.
Yeah. In fact, I think this becomes more important, right? Like, as time goes on, I think that we're, obviously we're trying to tap into that. There's this book that went around Silicon Valley for and it's still very popular, for a couple years ago. It's called Radical Candor by Kim Scott.
Yep.
Okay.
You know it well.
And I read it a couple times. It's often cited or brought up in terms of things like this concept of ruinous empathy. I think the danger in for a lot of people is you over-index on, I understand.
Coddling and entitlement.
Yes. Okay, so how do you find that line?
Yeah, by the way, a couple things. One, ruinous empathy in positive psychology, it's called learned hopelessness.
Okay.
Where you just surrender. You're like, I'm of the wind, I don't know, I'm not tethered, I'm not accountable to anything. When you coddle or create entitlement, basically you're letting the company run you.
Okay.
Right? They're all like, I deserve a raise today. I deserve $30K tomorrow. I'm out of here now. 12 o'clock, I'm out of here, right? And it's easy to do that if you just pour the empathy on without the accountability, without the self-regulation, without the self-awareness, without the gratitude, without all of those other things that I think encompass not only emotional intelligence, but emotional fluency, relational intelligence. And so we had that issue once upon a time.
Sure. I think we all have gone through that, right?
And we, Gary and I had to huddle, and we were both like, all right, we're really nice guys, and we've been too nice. We haven't told the truth. when someone would come into my office and I'd have to either let them go or be like, hey man, that behavior is a real vulnerability for you. And then they would get terminated in 3 months. Who do you think they're looking at?
Yeah.
Well, she told me, like, she didn't tell me I was getting fired. She just said I had to change my behavior. And so we had to change, and instead of radical candor, we call it kind candor. And we took the principles of radical candor and we put it into our language, because we're kind, we're not radical. We're kind people. And so you can still have kindness, clarity, being specific, current, and actionable. Those are her 5 steps in radical candor. You do the same thing. But what I say, Peter, is this is a world about connection, not correction. Not correction and not criticism. And that's where I sit. The more I connect with you, the more I'm going to be able to have a candorous conversation, because you know I come and
Sure, whether that means like you're not performing
you're out of here, or
got it. I love
hey,
that.
man, I think you should take 2 weeks off, or whatever it is, because I've spent the time connecting and building a relationship with you, rather than just being like, well, I'm sorry, you're not up to snuff.
Right.
Bye.
And by the way, I'm shocked that you're having this. You're telling me this. I'm surprised it's out of the blue. How is this possible? Right?
Yeah. But we call it kind candor, and that is how we approach feedback.
Yep.
And we approach it as, yes, it's a gift. It's not a gut punch.
Yep.
Right. A lot of people don't see it as a gift because we go into fight, flight, fear.
Yep.
But let's go back to that over-indexing and coddling and empathy. When someone goes into fight, flight, fear, the first thing that a coddler will do is like, are you okay? God, I'm so sorry. Right? And that's not leadership. That's like falling back on your value.
Totally. Early in my career, when I became a people leader, one of the things that I didn't understand, I didn't have the experience, I didn't read enough, was I didn't want people to not like me.
Yeah.
I didn't want people to hate me.
Yeah.
I never wanted to disappoint people.
Yeah.
And I remember I was working for a guy, he happened to be the CEO, and I had to fire somebody. He wasn't performing. Well, I thought that I did it in the way that was supposed to be done, which is, hey, it's not working out, I'm sorry. Well, the guy didn't take it as that.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize that I was firing him, because what I was trying to do was do it in a way that made me not feel bad.
Yeah. Protecting yourself.
Totally. And I remember having a really tough conversation with now the guy that was supposed to have been fired, and the CEO, who was like, how was he confused?
How did you miss that?
How did you miss that?
Yeah.
And that was a turning point for me around, I was being so empathetic that it was detrimental to everybody, including myself. Or what I thought was being empathetic probably wasn't empathy.
No, you're protecting your ass.
Right. Okay. Sure. Or that. Yeah. Sure. No, I think that's true. And I was like, I just don't want them. I want them to feel good when I'm firing them. The reality is that's not going to happen. So
I did too.
Yeah,
I did the same.
But this doesn't work like that. The world doesn't work like that. You can still help people, but I think that you're right. Like I think the problem is this idea of accountability, and it's really hard. It's really hard to keep people accountable in a lot of ways. But if you don't have that, nothing else matters. Whether you love them,
nothing means nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's so true. But I hear you. And so when we fail to give someone our observations, our subjective feedback, we're just covering our ass.
Totally.
And they're like, literally like, I'm doing great. I don't know. She just wanted to check in.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. We had, in my prior business, we had values. We had 3 of them, but the first one was feedback is non-negotiable. And this was learned behavior for us because we realized that we were being too empathetic.
Yeah.
Or we were just sort of we weren't doing what was right. We were covering our ass, as you saw. And so from then on, it was, you have to give feedback. Now that's not a blank check to be a jerk.
No.
But that means that, look, like if you do something, somebody can ask you about it, right?
Yep.
And if you make a decision, you should have some data to back it up of why you made that decision, and it's okay to be challenged.
Yep.
And that's, that helped create a really great winning culture for us, and people love that.
The last thing I want to say, sorry, I want to jump in on that, and this is part of Kim Scott's 5 steps and ours too, action. So it's one thing to give someone feedback and say, as we know, we don't want to give feedback from 3 months ago. So yesterday, right? Peter, I noticed there were a lot of spelling mistakes on that deck, and I don't know if clients noticed, but I noticed. So next time, I want to make sure that I get to see the deck and proofread it. Yeah. Let's put it through AI. That's an action.
Yeah.
It's an action so that you're not, and that's lightweight. But so you're not like left like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know. No one's telling me what to do. Yeah. Because we fail them.
Yeah.
We fail people when we're like, good convo.
Yeah, great. Get them
Hope
next
you feel
time.
good.
Yeah, hope you feel good.
Yeah,
Totally.
like, how about this? Hey, that was a great job.
Doesn't work.
A great job? That's just complimenting you.
Yeah.
That's not feedback.
Not at all. And by the way, it's just gonna snowball and get worse, right? Now the client's pissed because they caught the next mistake.
Yeah.
It's great. I have two more questions for you. The first is like, you talk about like music and songs and what's playing in your head. Again, like we're going through a major shift, right? I don't like, feels like we're always on a major shift.
Yeah.
With what's happening with AI and technology, like it does feel like we're in somewhat of a tectonic shift in the way that we as humans come to work, we operate. Like you said earlier, like everyone's sort of nervous, right? Is my job going to be taken?
Yeah.
Is it going to make me better? Is it going to replace me? The truth might be somewhere in the middle. It might be one thing, it might be the other. But if you tie that back to like what's playing in your head, like what for you, like what is that?
So, I mean, literally I have a song playing in my head right now because I always do, which is Our House by Madness. And I have no idea where it came from because I didn't listen to them today. You probably haven't listened to them in years, but it just pops in.
Love it.
But the song in your head, the metaphor that I'm going at is like most of us, if we're sleepwalking, most of us have some kind of negative talk track going on here on repeat.
Yep.
Probably 90% of the time. It's very rare that we're going to be nice to ourselves. And that's the song I mean. So my song for years and years was like, I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I can't do that. And I'm going to say no to that. I can't do that. Which like prevented me from taking opportunities. Like legit.
Yeah.
Prevented me. And I had to get coaching on something very simple. Find the evidence that you're dumb, Claude. Show me the evidence. Like you have a job, you get paid, this, that. Okay, so there's no evidence that you're dumb. If that's not the truth, then what is the truth? You have to find something else, another song to put in your head that is honest, truthful, maybe aspirational, but it's real.
Yeah.
So let's take when I wrote a book, right? When I first wrote a book, the song in my head was like, why should I write this book? Everyone talks about this. I got nothing new to say, right? That kept me there for like a good year. I got nothing new to say. And then it was like, wait a second, but I have Claude's way of saying it, which is new to say.
Yeah.
No one's heard Claude's way of saying it. Okay, that started to make me feel a little bit better. Yeah. Then I was like, all right, well, I want to get this book out into the world. Okay, that didn't light me up yet. I was still like, all right. What lit me up was like, I want to be a fucking bestseller. And that lit me up.
Love that.
And that was what I put in this head for the next 3 years while I wrote the book.
We are our own worst critic.
Yeah.
And I think that like those voices in your head are pretty powerful in both directions.
Yeah. I don't know how they got there. Like Carl Jung's not here right now, but like we can phone him up. But
yeah.
I don't know. But it does a doozy on us.
Yeah, totally. Everybody has like everyone battles their own demons on this way.
Yeah.
Last question. You guys hire young folks that are sort of early in their career. How, and some who, I'm sure are great from day one, and others maybe that don't pass the sniff test in terms of interviewing. What's your recommendation for young people in terms of telling their story? Because you talk a lot about storytelling, right? Like, how do they tell their story that becomes, a piece of, capital that they can use?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things I would say, and I say this, but I want to caveat it a little bit. I'm not young anymore, so me being vulnerable is a strength.
Sure.
I don't know if a younger person at 21 feels like it's a strength for them to say, I dropped out of college because whatever. So while I think vulnerability is really important, I don't want a 21-year-old to tank like that. But what I would like is a 21-year-old to find a story about them on a team winning. Something that had to do with not them as the golden child, but maybe how it was a we, not I culture, or how I was on this team and my contributions were this, and so forth in this, and my strength is in, maybe I'm neurodivergent. I'm able to see patterns that no one else sees. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to own something that makes you feel good about yourself, and that's honest.
Love that.
That's what I think is needed today.
I love that. Okay.